Welcome, everybody. Let's chant the Metta Sutta, the Buddha's words on loving kindness. This is what should be done by one who is skilled in goodness and who knows the path of peace. Let them be able and upright, straightforward and gentle in speech, humble and not conceited, contented and easily satisfied, not busy with duties and frugal in their ways, peaceful and calm and wise and skillful, not proud and demanding in nature. Let them not do the slightest thing that the wise would later reprove, wishing in gladness and in safety, may all beings be at ease. Whatever living beings there may be, whether they are weak or strong, omitting none, the great or the mighty, medium, short or small, the seen and the unseen, those living near and far away, those born and to be born, may all beings be happy. Let none deceive another or despise any being in any state. Let none through anger or ill will wish harm upon another, even as a mother protects with her life her child, her only child. So with a boundless heart should one cherish all living beings, radiating kindness over the entire world, spreading upwards to the skies and downwards to the depths, outwards and unbounded, freed from hatred and ill will. Whether standing or walking, seated or lying down, free from drowsiness, one should sustain this recollection. This is said to be the sublime abiding, by not holding to fixed views, the pure-hearted one, having clarity of vision, being freed from all sense desires, is not born again into this world. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. May all beings be free from suffering, and that includes all of us. Welcome, everybody. So nice to see you all again. It's nice to come together and share some Dhamma. So what I thought so my name is Viveka, and I'm a long-term practitioner. I've been living in the bush on my own for 25 years, and I'm a full-time practitioner since 2009. And it's a lovely thing living in nature. And I'm in Victoria on the southwest coast, and we've had the huge storms come through over the last few days, and it's been very wild indeed. And I think it's one of the beauties living in nature. You get to have things in perspective, that conditions come and go, that you know, humans are just a very small speck, and you have a wider perspective when you're actually subject to all of these conditions. Anyway, what I thought I'd talk about tonight is to take the topic that I spoke about last time a bit further. So last time I spoke about right practice, and we touched on right efforts. And today I wanted to look a little bit more deeply at right effort and at yoniso manasikara, which is right attention. Now, please excuse me. I'm actually really tired. I haven't slept much in the last couple of nights, and I prepared some notes, luckily, and I'm going to do my best to follow them. But please excuse me if I flounder a little bit. And feel free to ask questions if anything I say doesn't make sense as we're going along. And I'm new to this, so if I don't see your question coming up in the chat, just do a physical wave so that I draws my attention to the chat. Okay. Okay, so just to recap, the four right efforts we talked about was that you have to do whatever is required to increase the positive states and to maintain them, and to do whatever is required to decrease the negative states and to dispel them if they've arisen. And that's a really nice, clear rule of thumb. But I wanted to go a little bit more deeply into how the Buddha taught that we should go about it. So one of the things that this topic is perhaps not talked about so often in general Buddhist circles. It's the role and path of practice, but it's very much how I practice all the time. And it's the nitty-gritty stuff. It's where you have to exert effort and actually recondition yourself. But this is what yields the fruit. And if we want to reduce suffering, this is the way to do it. So please bear with me, even if it sounds like a little bit of hard work. It's a wonderful investment, and this is the path out of suffering. So I want to draw a link between right effort and conditionality. Right? So how and why do states occur, the positive states and the negative states? So if we're talking about, oh my goodness, I'm so tired. I just realized I've launched straight into the Dhamma talk. I didn't do the meditation. That's so funny. Oh, dear me. I did want to do the meditation first before going into the Dhamma talk. So before I go in too deeply into this subject, I think we'll just pause here and do the meditation. So the purpose of meditation is to actually give rise to some of these positive states that I was talking about. And the way that we do it is first we still the body and then we still the mind. And so you need to get into a comfortable posture and shake off and leave behind all of the sticky things that you've brought with you from the day and from the week. And close your eyes, get comfortable, and take a few deep breaths. I'll do some general guidance for us for the first section of the meditation, and then I'll be quiet, and the whole thing should take about 30 minutes. Just set the timer. So close your eyes. Just leave everything behind. Just be here. This is your space, a refuge inside for some peace and quiet and calm. So when you're ready, put your attention on your feet. And if they're touching the ground, just notice that. Hello, feet. How are you? Hmm. Going up to the ankles, making sure to relax. If there's any tightness or tension or aches, relax. Be kind. And moving up the calves, feeling the skin and the muscles, and even the bones inside, and up to the knee joint. Putting your attention every part of the knee joint. And I like to have an attitude of gratitude when I'm doing a body scan. Thank you, knees. Thank you. You've served so well. Now it's time to relax. Be at ease. Let all of the little pains fade away. Relaxed and at ease. And moving up the thighs. Great big thigh muscles work so hard. Now it's time to relax. To the hip joints. Thank you, hips. And all of the ligaments across the front of the pelvis and at the back into the base of the spine. Relax. Let go all of the tension. Feel them relax. Feel them letting go. Feel the relaxation spread up your spine. All the way up the center of your back. If there's any tension there, just send some metta. Accept it and relax. Nothing to do. Just relax. And around to the front. and the abdomen and the big muscle walls of the abdomen and all of the organs. Thank you. Thank you for sustaining my life. Up the diaphragm, the lungs, and the heart. Thank you. Thank you so much. And up to your clavicle and the front of the shoulders. Into the shoulder joints. And send the relaxation and peace down your arms to the elbows. Thank you, elbows. I really appreciate you. Thank you. You can rest now. Nothing to do. Just rest and relax. And down the forearms, the wrists, and the hand, and the fingernails. I feel so light now. And back upwards, up the arms to the neck. Feel free to adjust your posture if you can be more comfortable. Thank you, neck. Thank you. And to the base of the skull. Relax. Nothing to do. Just relax. And over the scalp and down the forehead. Relaxing all the little muscles around the eyes. Nothing to do. No expressions to make. Just still. Relax. Calm. Peaceful. Down to the lips and the jaw and the throat. Relaxed. And up around the ears. And at the very top of your skull. as the body is relaxed, it's time for the mind. You too, it's time for you to relax. Nothing to do, peaceful and calm. Shaking off the burdens of the mind is delightful. So let's help the mind and put all thoughts of the past into a big suitcase. Suitcase in your left hand, and all thoughts of the future in a suitcase in your right hand. For the time being, they're going to rest in that suitcase. The past in your left hand and the future in your right hand. Feel how heavy they are. As you're holding that suitcase, you can feel the burden. It's time to put it down now, just for a little while. So reach down with your left arm and let go of that heavy suitcase. Let go of the suitcase of the past and let go of the suitcase of the future. Feel how light it is. No more burden. This is your time, unburdened, peaceful, empty, calm. Free, resting in peace. Nowhere to go, nothing to do. Everything is exactly as it should be. Contentment, ease, going to be quiet now till the end of the meditation. We're coming close to the end of the meditation now. Enjoy the last moment and reflect how nice it is to have a stilled mind. Notice your breathing and ground yourself on the breath. And take a couple deep breaths and slowly bring yourself back. And when you're ready, open your eyes. Oh, welcome back, everybody. I didn't want that one to end. And it doesn't matter how the meditation goes. Every time it's an exploration, and there are always things to learn and to see. And it's a case of slowly, slowly conditioning yourself and letting the mind be comfortable with stillness and with letting go. And sometimes it'll work better, and sometimes it'll be a bit harder, but they're all good. Okay, so welcome back. Welcome back. Ah. So I was going to talk about right effort, and after that meditation, I really don't feel like any effort at all. But right effort is what actually enables us to be able to have the stillness. And we can see that as well with the way that the Noble Eightfold Path is outlined, because right effort comes before right samadhi. Um, so, we put the sila aspects into place, and then we come to right effort. And this is a way that we move ourselves further along the path. And it isn't talked about that much, but for me, that's where a very large part of my practice has been focused. And my background is in psych and mental health. And so this stuff has always interested me, because it's about conditioning our perceptions and the way that we perceive the world, and how we can recondition ourselves from habits and patterns that lead to unbeneficial states to different habits and patterns that lead to beneficial states. And so I wanted to talk about this in a little bit more detail today, because this is the how-to with regards to the four right efforts. So if the four right efforts are about doing what's required to increase the positive and to decrease the negative, this is the means, these are the methods. And This is what the work is. It's the workhorse. It's actually, this is how the mind is tamed. So in the Buddha's teachings, he talks about people in the training. This is the training. This is part of the training, big part of the training. So there are many ways to look at these, and I just thought today I'll try and bring a few different angles together, and so really bring together right effort, conditionality, and right attention, yoniso manasikara, and to see how these things all work together um, to give rise to the good states and to keep them, and to, if bad states arise, how to actually get rid of them. Okay, so that's the objective. We'll see how we go. But for myself, and this is why I'm motivated to share it, this has been a very fruitful practice because it means that you're no longer at the mercy of conditions. Okay, you can actually have some agency and begin to tame the mind. And so you're not helpless in the face of conditions. So, how and why do states arise? So, thoughts and feelings arise due to a cause. They don't arise for no cause. This might sound really simple, but it's so not simple because this is the basis of the Buddha's, one of the things the Buddha awakened to. This is paticca samuppada, so specific conditionality or dependent arising. Things arise because of a cause. And right effort, you can master right effort by understanding conditionality. And what's conditionality? It's when this, then this. Mm. When there is this, this arises. And when this isn't there, this doesn't arise. Okay? And we see this, it's so fundamental that this is basically what the second and third noble truths are about. Okay, seeing the causes for the arising of suffering, okay, knowing the causes and the conditions that give rise to the negative states, and also knowing the causes and conditions about how they cease. So you can see how these things all dovetail together. And this is where I get the joy in the Dhamma because it's like a perfect fractal. You know, it's such a huge amount of teachings, but they've all got the same message from so many different angles and they're perfectly integrated. And the more angles that we can look at this from, the better we can understand it, because we need to find something that speaks to us, you know, that actually, you know, so the penny drops for us. So I'm just going to try a bit of a, you know, maybe slightly different angle today. Okay. So conditionality, dependent arising, is actually the means by which the whole Noble Eightfold Path is operationalized. So it's not done through an act of will. You can't get rid of suffering through an act of will, but rather through wise reconditioning. And that requires knowing what leads to, what causes good states, and what leads to, what causes bad ones, and putting the appropriate causes in place. Okay, so the causes determine the arising states. So the state that arises isn't you or yours, not me or mine. It's not by my will or because I am such and such a person, but because of the causes and conditions that have gone before. I pause because this is really deep. It might sound really simple and basic, but it's so not simple and basic. Um, Okay. So it means you don't own them, you can't control them, and they're not yours. So this goes to all kinds of things like guilt or um, any of the emotions that you have, any of the negative emotions that you have, all the burdens that you've carried with you from the past. You think that I'm thinking bad thoughts because I'm a bad person. It's not that at all. It's because of the conditions that have gone beforehand. Okay. So an understanding cause and effect allows us to put different causes in place, right? So it's an empowering thing. It you're no longer helpless. So, and the causes you put in place now are what determines your future. So whatever's happened in the past and the causes that happened in the past, that's fine. Don't worry about it. We focus on putting the causes in place now for the arising of good states. And I want to come now to look at yoniso manasikara, or wise attention, because what and how you pay attention determines how things are perceived, and how things are perceived determines the states that arise, either leading in a good way or a bad way. So, for example, we've just had all of the big storms here, and some people were fault finding and outraged at the inconvenience of the weather and the fact that man-made structures are susceptible. Um, and that way of paying attention uh, leads to defilements arising. It's the arising of ill will, it's the fault finding and the criticizing. So, just how you pay attention, you can see the cause leads to that state arising. On the other hand, I myself, I didn't even know that people were having this outrage reaction. I was so grateful and full of gratitude for all of the emergency services and the amazing workers to fix all the power lines. They're working 24/7 in like hurricane conditions. And I was just so full of gratitude. And of course, this leads to good states arising. So, how you actually look at things, right? How you perceive the things determines the states. Okay. Does that make sense? Yes. Good. Excellent. Thank you. Yep. So one way of perceiving leads to defilements arising, and the other way leads to positive states arising. So this is yoniso manasikara, and attention for ordinary people is just random, okay? But wise attention, the way the Buddha teaches it, isn't random. It's purposefully directed by wisdom in order to give rise to good states. So right effort relies on yoniso manasikara, and it's a skill. So being a skill, it's something that you train. Okay, so it's not a talent; it's a skill. Anyone can learn it, and that takes effort. And this is part of right effort. So, in order for good states to arise, you have to apply attention in the wise way, not in an unwise way. Hmm? Okay. And I think of it like being skilled in this is like being equipped with a sword and a shield, because you're both protected from and cutting down the negative states. Okay. If you know how to place your attention, then you're no longer just subject and slave to the arisen states and what you're actually looking at. and you can put causes in place to change them, not just uh, 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 just be captured and run away with attention that might be brought about due to your defilements. So this is the training behind right effort. And even if you don't go any further than this on the path, okay, this will make a huge difference in your life, because it empowers you not to be a victim of conditions. And for me, this is like a superpower. And ultimately, this is what leads to unshakable peace, because no matter what gets thrown at you, if you have developed this power sufficiently, if you've tamed your mind sufficiently, you can deal with all of those things, right? So ultimately, and I mean, the Buddha, right, can perceive things however you want, because you also realize that none of them is the truth. Okay, it's just a matter of how you're looking at it. And I can't remember whether I've shared with you guys my story of the eagles and the foxes, where I was watching the mum fox and the little baby foxes coming out of the den. And the eagles, the big wedge-tailed eagles, found them. And so the mother fox was trying to defend her babies from being eaten by the eagles, right? So you can look at this and have all kinds of, you can perceive it in different ways. You can apply attention in different ways to give rise to different states. So if you look at it like, oh, the eagle's eating the fluffy little gorgeous babies, and that's a tragedy and it's awful and it's unfair, that will give rise to sadness. Right? But if you look at it like the eagles, okay, so there's the eagle mother, they have to eat, everything eats everything else, and she's eating the cubs, which she's feeding her baby eagles with, so they'll be able to survive and live a really good life. So if you're looking at this, if you're putting attention in this way, you're perceiving it a particular way, and you have joy. So in this case, if you look at it in one way, you have compassion, right? Karuna for the plight of the foxes. Or if you look at it in another way, you have um, uh, mudita, so joy that the eagles are actually surviving. And you can change your perception, and you see how perception actually works. And if you take it to a high enough level and you can see these things simultaneously, this is what actually leads to equanimity, because you're seeing the whole picture. You're not just fixated on one thing. So this is all about wise attention. And what normally happens is that our attention is conditioned to go to a particular place, and then you just get sucked in with that and pulled along with it. But right effort means purposefully using wise attention in such a way that it gives rise to good states and it minimizes the negative states. Does that make sense? Yes? Great. Okay. Right. So I think it's time for a sutta. So I was originally thinking of going through the Sabhasava Sutta, which is Majjhima Nikaya number 2, called All of the Defilements, which is a fantastic sutta. It's the Buddha's instructions. He gives 7 different methods for how to dispel the defilements. But it's an enormous sutta. And Ajahn Brahmali did a sutta retreat a few years ago on this and spent 9 days on it. And I'm just going to read a tiny little excerpt. There's so many riches here. I hope that, if you find any of this inspiring, you'll actually go and seek it out and read it, or have a look at any more in-depth teachings on it online. It's very interesting. So I'm just going to read a little bit from it. So it says, the Buddha says, mendicants, I say that the ending of defilements is for one who knows and sees, not for one who does not know and see. For one who knows and sees what? Wise attention and unwise attention. When you apply the mind with unwise attention, defilements arise, and once arisen, they grow. And when you apply the mind with wise attention, defilements don't arise, and those that have already arisen are given up. Okay? So you can see how this is all tying together. Okay, so like with the storms, unwise attention is to think of your own inconvenience and, the fact that humans should be infallible and we should be able to control nature and, the power companies should have better quality wires. And, this gives rise to the defilement of ill will. Okay, it's just unwise attention. The wise attention is to look at all of the help that was forthcoming from so many people to deal with nature, which is out of control. And of course, we're subject to it. So the way you apply attention purposefully, right, becomes the cause for the arising of either positive or negative state. Okay? This is the act of conditioning. Okay, let me check the time. Whoops, whoops, whoops. Okay. 10 o'clock. Oh, only half an hour to go. Okay, right. Okay, so there we go. So, right. So the normal way of dealing with arisen bad states. Okay, so this is what people who haven't heard the Buddha's teachings, like how we all were before we heard the Buddha's teachings, and how you deal with things is you feel bad, okay, and you don't like it. So instead of understanding that it has arisen due to a cause, you focus on the feeling and you want to get rid of it. So you distract yourself, right? This, right? I used to do shopping therapy. I felt discontent or, grumpy or, some kind of unpleasant state. What do? Shopping therapy, buy yourself a new handbag. Oh dear, you might have a nice meal, eat chocolate, have a bath, and all of these things are really fine. And because they soothe your agitation, but it's just a surface level distraction and really doesn't work to change things. So it doesn't stop future bad states arising. You're just reacting to the conditions rather than being master of the conditions. Okay. So this is just like little band-aids and little, lollies when you're hitting bad conditions and you're suffering. The other way, you're actually undoing suffering. So this is why it's a way to be empowered rather than helpless in the face of conditions. Okay. And when you're really master of this, when you've really tamed your mind, you're unshakable because it doesn't matter what happens. There's a way that you know how your mind can be used in order for you to not suffer. Okay. 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 So, two hindrances arise due to a cause and not due to anything to do with the self. Okay, so the ill will isn't because you're a bad, rotten person. The ill will is because you're attending unwisely. So it takes the personal out of it, right? Which underscores the not me, not mine, the dependently arisen nature of experience. Okay, so whatever you experience, it's because of the conditions. And now that you've got these tools, you can put better conditions in place. Okay. And when you've got better conditions in place, again, it's not an act of will. I'm not feeling better, but I've put the conditions in place so that it gives rise to a happy state. Okay. So it's not like I think bad thoughts because I'm a bad person, or I can't meditate because, you know, I'm a rotten person, or I'm stupid, or there's something wrong with me. You can't meditate because of certain causes and conditions. And if you put different causes and conditions in place, then you will be able to meditate. Okay, so that's the approach. So this is the work, this is the right effort. It's generating the skills to put the right causes in place for those things to arise, right? That's why they say the Eightfold Path is a conditioned path, right? Yeah. It's a bloody wonderful thing. This is the way out of the tangle in samsara. But it takes effort. Okay, this isn't just sitting down with wishful thinking. This does require discipline and applying these things in your everyday life. And you know, like I experienced quite a lot of dukkha in my life. So I had the urgency. And so I went full time doing this full time all the time because I could see how it works. And the more effort you put in, the better the results will actually be. So you've also got to remember that and be realistic. Um, yeah, yeah. Okay, let me move along. Oh, the problem with getting old, my eyes get watery and blurry, and I can't even read my giant print. Okay, okay. So let's go to another sutta. So this sutta may not be that well known, but it displays the point I'm trying to get at quite clearly. And it's called the Kaya Sutta, or the body, and it's Samyutta Nikaya 46.2. Okay. Ah, yes, I love this. Here we go. The Buddha says at Savatthi, mendicants, this body is sustained by food. It depends on food to continue, and without food, it doesn't continue. In the same way, the five hindrances are sustained by fuel. They depend on fuel to continue, and without fuel, they don't continue. Okay, so the causes have to be in place for the five hindrances to arise and to continue, just like food is necessary for our body to continue. So food is the cause and condition for our body to live. Okay, so too there are causes and conditions for the defilements to arise and stay. So, and this particular sutta, it's talking about the awakening factors as positive states. So it continues down here. Oh, no, sorry. Part two. Okay. So, so I'm just going to read out this next little bit of the sutta. What else do I have to do? Okay, I think that's fine. Okay, so here are some specific things about paying attention to what fuels the arising of the hindrances. So I'll just go this quite quickly. So the Buddha says, what fuels the arising of sensual desire? So that's one of the first hindrance. Or when it has arisen, makes it increase and grow. There is the feature of beauty. So frequent unwise attention to that fuels the arising of sensual desire, or when it has arisen, makes it increase and grow. So I'll use a really obvious example here. Let's say that you're a happily married couple and you find somebody attractive, okay, not your partner, someone outside of your partnership. So what makes the sensual desire grow is unwise attention on the features that you find beautiful. So if you're focusing on all the things that you find attractive, then that lust and desire and everything else is going to grow. Okay? But contrary-wise, if you focus on other aspects, so you focus on the dangers that would happen, that if you went down that track, then that lust and desire won't grow. So it's really very much where you're going to put attention. And I won't have time to go through all the things, but that's sometimes if you find somebody really attractive and you're trying to not find them attractive, you might imagine them without their skin, for example, right? So you're not focusing on the feature of beauty, you're focusing on something that's going to minimize the defilement and keep you safe, okay? So the second one, and what fuels the arising of ill will, or when it has arisen, makes it increase and grow? There is the feature of harshness. Frequent unwise attention of mind to that fuels the arising of ill will, or when it has arisen, makes it increase and grow. So this is the fault finding, the focusing on the negative, like I was talking about the people who were outraged at the storm. Okay, that's the unwise attention. You put your attention there, the hindrance of ill will grow. Okay. Okay. Are we? Yep. Good. And what fuels the arising of dullness and drowsiness, or when they have arisen, makes them increase and grow? There is discontent, sloth, yawning, sleepiness after eating, and mental sluggishness. Frequent unwise attention of mind to them fuels the arising of dullness and drowsiness, or when they have arisen, makes them increase and grow. Uh, uh, uh. I'm not going to go through all the rest of them because I think you get the idea, and we're sort of running close to the end of time. So, but you get the idea. It's exactly putting the attention on the wrong thing that makes the defilements grow. So your right effort is you have to do whatever is required not to let those things arise. And how do you do it? By placing your attention wisely. Okay. So this is tying together conditionality, wise attention, yoniso manasikara, and right effort. Okay, let me see. Okay, and what makes awakening factors grow? What makes the positive states grow? It's the opposite. This body is sustained by food. It depends on food to continue, and without food, it doesn't continue. In the same way, the 7 awakening factors are sustained by fuel. They depend on fuel to continue, and without fuel, they don't continue. And then it goes through in the same way as before by listing the particular things that actually leads to those factors growing. So in another way, you can say that wise attention is about directing attention wisely, watering the flowers, not the weeds. Okay, so you need to know the difference between what's a weed and what's a flower, and you apply the water to that. So you're providing the conditions for the flowers to grow, and you're not providing the conditions for the weeds to grow. So you fuel the beneficial and you starve the unbeneficial. And this change of focus changes everything and leads to less suffering. You can become a master of perception, no longer subject to past unbeneficial conditioning. Okay, I've just got a question. What sutta was that? That is called, which one was I just reading from? Oh, the Kaya Sutta, Samyutta Nikaya 46.2, called The Body. So this stuff is quite simple, but it's not easy. But it takes practice, and you just practice, 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 and start on relatively easy things, and you'll actually see that with practice you'll get better and more skilled at this. And then you won't be afraid of any conditions. Right? Just imagine what that would be like. Yep. It doesn't matter what conditions you bump up against, you're fully armed to be able to deal with them and they won't cause suffering. I mean, that's quite an ambitious goal, but that's the goal and that's an attainable goal. You know, isn't it worth putting in effort for this? It so is. It's changed my life. Right? And I've been practicing this for a long time and it really, really works. And as I said, my background was in psych and mental health. And as far as I'm concerned, the Buddha is the supreme um, psychologist. Uh, you know, this is a cure. This is a cure. We're curing perception. We're conditioning perception to align it with the way that the Buddha saw the world. I might stop here, and I hope that you have a little bit of inspiration and confidence that you just have to put this into practice and just see, just watch how it changes in little ways, like this example I gave about the storm, and actually do it yourself. And when you catch yourself focusing on the negative, switch to the positive and see what happens. Yeah. And this is the way you move from faith to confidence. So there we go. So any questions or comments or anything else, please feel free. Thank you. And so you can write in the chat or wave. I don't know how to see if people are raising their hand, but if you wave, then I'll just say, please unmute and share whatever you would like. I was just also going to say that the Sabhasava Sutta, the factors, the methods 2 to 6 are all directly about right effort. It's a pity that, anyway, this is just a short session. There's so much good Dhamma and so little time to share it all.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, please, Gloria. Nice to see you.
Yeah. The question is like when I meditate, my eyes will keep going like this. And it's like
Yes.
the more relaxed I am, the more intense it become. And I'm wondering, do you know the reason behind? Like, yes, and how to, because I have this for a very long time. And like for most of the time after meditation, I feel like my eyes is really tired because of that.
Okay. Right. Well, I would say sometimes it's effort better spent to put different causes in place, right? So we'll see what causes you can put in place so your eyes don't do that. Okay. So one of the things that you can try, and this is when the Buddha actually talks about different methods, which we didn't get into, but you can try by distracting yourself. So focus on another body part. If you notice your eyes are doing that, focus on another body part, or you change the attention. And if your eyes are doing that and then they relax, right? So if they scrunch up and they relax, watch it and see what it feels like when they relax, the relaxing side rather than the scrunching side, right? It's like when you tense up your muscles and then you relax your muscles. And if you focus on the relaxing feeling rather than the scrunching feeling, these are just little things that you need to try. You could also try meditating with your eyes open, okay? Just if you can. Um, hmm, hmm. Again, I think as we said last time, you have to be a little bit creative and you have to, because the important thing, it doesn't really matter that much understanding why, but you just want to change the particular type of behavior. So you need to find a way to distract yourself from it.
I just wondering, is it better to let my body do its stuff? Like,
If it
like,
doesn't bother you, if it doesn't bother you, just let it go. Just notice it. But if it bothers you, right? So that's one of the other methods that we didn't get to, which is just ignoring. Okay, so you just say, oh, well, this is, the eyes are just doing what the eyes do. Go ahead, eyes. I accept you, eyes, good eyes. Be happy, scrunch up if you want to scrunch up.
okay. Okay.
There's also, because I think last time you also spoke about, sometimes getting images and things like that. And I did want to come back to the point that sometimes meditation, it's not the right time to do meditation. It might be better effort spent on different aspects of the path, for example. So putting the causes in place for good meditation. And one of the underestimated things is sila, right? And so, as part of your practice, you can actually, undertake volunteer work or, go out purposefully to foster you understand what I'm saying? So you can actually focus on different aspects to really strengthen the foundations. Um, uh, and sometimes that's just what's needed because not everyone can meditate all the time. And then you need to actually just put different causes in place.
Yes. Okay. I actually understand what you're talking about. I'm just too scared to do that. So that is another thing. Yes, yes, that I'm
Oh,
scared to do that. But for most of the time, but I understand what you're talking about. I actually also feel like I'm trying to, I don't know. I don't feel like I understand myself enough. But yes, thank you for your advice.
okay. Good luck. You'll be right. Let me see. I'll just read from hello, Viveka. I would like to ask what we can do to work with regret, especially for self-blame for the missing opportunity caused by our own wrong decision in the past that can't be changed now. Okay. Okay. Well, it's a lovely thing once you really understand dependent arising because you know that you actually didn't have a choice at that decision that you made at that time because of the conditioning that you brought with you and the conditions that you found yourself in. You can't be other than how you've been conditioned. It's not by an act of will. So you have to forgive yourself because there was really no other thing you could have done. Um, and so regret, this is in the past. Okay. So the wonderful thing that you can do, and I have this little mantra I say to myself all the time, and it's that every single opportunity of suffering, every single instance of suffering is an opportunity for growth and learning. And, so you can transform the regret into energy for having learned lessons, by having looked at it and reflected wisely. You can make better choices into the future. You can't retrospectively go, but you make your future by the conditions you put in place now. So learn from that and do better, wiser going forward. I hope that's come back to me if that doesn't if that's not satisfying. Please, anybody else? Is that Ajahn Brahm on your bookshelf? I have lots of Ajahn Brahm on my bookshelf. I have lots of Buddha. Basically, the teachers that I myself have are those who are based on the Buddha's teachings. So that's who I read. That's the conditions I subject myself to. So I'm conditioning myself. I'm brainwashing myself by listening to people who teach what the Buddha said. So I don't want to pollute my brain with all kinds of different opinions and different things. It's the freeway to the Buddha's teachings. So that's very much a conscious choice of where I choose to put my attention. Oh, good. Thank you. Excellent. Good.
Yeah. Viveka.
Yes, Gita.
Right. With right effort, I think I get mixed up with the notion of, grit your teeth and kind of work at this type of an approach, as opposed to observe, understand, and then let that guide you. But with things like regret or anger, or, you think some injustice has occurred, it's as if the mind can really get some satisfaction by going into this kind of thing, and sort of indulging in that aversion and so on. So you have gone far into the story before you realize what you're doing, that this is all this unwholesome being generated. And and so at that point you might realize, okay, this is unwholesome. Is this what you want to do? But then 2 minutes later, again, the story is now. So effort it's a very subtle thing, isn't it? That one has to do, because it's a mindset reset that's happening.
Yes.
It's not sweat and blood and tears, which is what.
But I think it's persistence, not so much the sweat and blood and tears, but the persistence, because you're changing your very thought habits. And I mean, I even think of it so deep that it's actually changing your neural networks.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's the going against the stream, because it's much easier to go and have a chocolate. And so it does take some effort, right? It's much easier to sit on the couch, have a chocolate, watch a movie, whatever, rather than to go into it and to make your attention go somewhere where it's hard. You prefer to just, I wish it would go away. But it's like learning a musical instrument, so you don't learn the musical instrument necessarily by although one of the methods in the sutta was that you do grit your teeth and put your tongue against the top of your mouth and you don't let it arise. That's the really serious defilements, you know, before you're about to go and kill someone, you know, absolutely halt it. But for the others, it's not so drastic. So it's and that's what the Buddha talks about, you know, persistence, diligence, energy, all of those factors are what is required. So when you're practicing your instrument, you've got the goal of being a virtuoso and you're just a beginner. You know, it might be nicer to go and kick back and go to the beach or practice, you know. So it's not, but it is diligent, persistent effort.
Yes, thank you.
There's just my 2 cents worth.
Yes, thank you.
It does get easier. That's the one thing I want to say, that it absolutely gets easier. And it's sort of like, I love the image of the wheel of the Dhamma, because I find that the path is one that gains momentum. You know, at the beginning, you know, it's sort of like squeak, 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 you know, you're pushing it along. But as the further along you get, oh, it gets supercharged. And then you get to the point where it just, the momentum goes off on its own. And this is conditioning in evidence, because you can't do anything anymore. You've put the causes in place and it's just going to happen. That's why it's not about will, it's about putting the causes in place. And if you've put the causes in place, you can't help but have these effects. The Buddha was a genius. Okay. May I know how to deal with fear of aging and sickness? That's a big question right at the very end. Jennifer, let me see if I can see you. One of the important things, hello, Jennifer, I find is not to have regret and remorse. Okay. So if you, there is no regret and remorse, then you can be content with having lived a good life. I mean, you're going to get old and you're going to probably get sick. Normally, people die as a, you know, unless you have an unexpected accident. So this is just a matter of course. There is another really interesting way to look at it. And if you believe in rebirth, which I do, and that's that you've actually been through it many times before. You know, this is just another time going through it. And you know, it's just nature, and there's nothing to be afraid of. It's the remorse that you have the fear of, because then you're not reconciled with what's going to happen. I'm sorry, I'm not giving a very good answer. This is a topic that I feel strongly about, and I've had quite a bit to do with. I've I've been on the death journey with a couple of people close in my life, and I've had a near-death experience myself and things like that. So I'm sorry that I'm not responding really. Conditions, end of the night. I'm really tired. I'm sorry. I don't, yeah.
Viveka, Steve is trying to get your attention.
Oh, please, Steve,
unmute. He's not unmuted, Steve.
Yes, now that's better.
Hello,
Thank
Steve.
you. Thank you, Geetha. Thank you, Viveka. Just on conditioning and further to what Geetha said, I struggle with the same thing. And one thing that I've found apart from trying to say I'm here now and whatever's behind me is behind, it's gone. But it's also about accepting that, well, that's the fruits of my past conditioning. And there's actually quite a few years of conditioning there to undo. Mm-hmm. And so I accept where I am. I'm not always very happy with it, but I accept where I am. And after tonight, I've got just another little tool in my toolbox. So thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. That's great. And just with regards to like the regret and stuff like that, I always like the story about Angulimala, right? He was the serial killer that became a disciple of the Buddha and actually became enlightened. And so, of course, he had a lot of regret, but having become enlightened, he realized that that was the product of his conditioning. And he had to bear the fruit of his actions. Yeah, but the wonderful thing and the little passage that I love is that, when the Buddha says, but now you're different. Okay, so, and he talks about him being reborn in the Dhamma, right? So your intentions are different now. Everything is different now. And it's like you've been reborn in the Dhamma, so you can draw a line under the past. You can leave it behind because you're not that person anymore, right? And that was what was for those reasons, but now is now, and you're putting different causes in place for the future. And I love that. I use it myself whenever I've done anything. If you have a sincere intention, it's like you're reborn in the Dhamma with the new intentions. Good luck. Have fun.
Always have fun.
I think we should wrap up, really. We've gone a little bit over time. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you, everybody, so much.